Hi, welcome to the CEO Spot. I'm your host, Amy Walker, and we are back for another great interview to help you be able to grow your business and be a stronger, better entrepreneur. So today we have Kathy Fettke on the phone with us. Welcome. We're so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
And I always like to tell our audience what we're going to be talking about today, and then we'll go ahead and give you your official introduction. So Kathy is a real estate genius. She is a successful entrepreneur, has got a really good pedigree. But one of the things that really intrigued me about her is she has a passion for helping people be able to pursue their dreams, and has used her business from the very early stages as a platform for being able to do that. So we're going to be talking about growing your dreams, building your business, how real estate might fit into the mix. It's going to be a really great show. So let's give Kathy's official introduction. Kathy's the CEO and the co-founder of Real Wealth Network, which is based out of Walnut Creek, California. It's an organization that's dedicated to helping members get the most current and cutting edge education and information that they need to succeed as real estate investors. She's a licensed realtor, a former mortgage broker, and an active investor. And she was selected as one of America's 100 most intriguing entrepreneurs by Goldman Sachs at the first annual and second annual Builders and Innovators Summit. She's also been an Inc. 5000 company 3 years in a row. And she's got an extensive background in broadcast and in radio, and she even ran her own television show back in the early 2000s. So Kathy, we're so excited to have you on with us today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
So I always love to get to hear a little bit about your beginnings as an entrepreneur, because we don't come out of the womb writing business plans. So how did you get started as an entrepreneur?
I think I was born that way. No, I'm not. A lot of entrepreneurs will say that they are unemployable, and I think that was the case for me. I mean, I loved scooping ice cream in high school and trading it for the pizza next door. But when it really came to, getting that career going, I remember getting a job, and I liked the job, but I also had children, and it's hard to get out of the house when you have children. And I remember, after wiping their noses and getting them dressed, and, they trip and they hit their knee and you got to put the Band-Aid on, get them to daycare. And I think I was maybe 8 minutes late. And the supervisor kind of looked at her watch and kind of gave me a scowl. And I thought, how dare she act like she owns me? And then I went, ooh, she kind of does, from 9 to 5. Right. And that was it. Like You're done. Be my own boss. Yeah. So a lot of times I think you either are or you aren't an entrepreneur. If you aren't an entrepreneur, that doesn't mean you can't be a small business owner, but you do need someone on your team who is an entrepreneur and who just resists life the way it is, and is, a true entrepreneur's got to see opportunity and be able to jump on it. And it's got to be something new and innovative that other people need. You've got to have that person on the team.
I love that. I'm a mom as well. We have 5 boys, and that process of trying to fit, I've been an entrepreneur since my oldest was a baby. But before I started Amy Walker Consulting, I was still an entrepreneur technically. I was 1099. I still was my own business, but I was working entirely with one other company. And I really was doing a lot of things, and it was so much on their terms that when I had baby boy number 5, it was like, I just can't, I just can't fit my world around somebody else's any longer. I've got to do 100% my own thing in my own time, my own way. And it was scary, but also such a great thing. And also it didn't matter if I remember so many times you'd make it out of the house and you realize you have boogers on you and you're like, oh, great. It didn't matter anymore.
I can't believe it took you to your 5th kid to figure it out. I was on my 2nd. I'm like, I can't do it. I mean, God bless you, because my mom had 5 kids, but her job was us. I can't imagine her even trying. But see, that was back before the Federal Reserve was really messing with our financial system. And when a mom could stay at home, it's so much harder today.
It is.
Inflation and some of the manipulation, which is why I do what I do, helping people understand how to create wealth in today's environment, which is very different than how we were raised.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about, and I know it's been a while since you did this, but I was really captivated by this story. So in the early 2000s, you ran a TV show called Dreams, and it was following people as they were pursuing their dreams. And I want to hear a little bit about what your takeaways were from that, and what are the lessons that you still feel like are so relevant for the entrepreneurs today that are pursuing their dreams through business?
Well, everybody has, oops, there's my hubby. I'm on.
It's okay.
Recording.
We'll edit it out.
Edit that out. Okay. All right. So what was the question again?
So I had just asked about the show and what were the lessons you learned during that process that you feel like are still relevant for entrepreneurs today?
Oh, right. Okay. So, everybody talks about potentially having a business. Most people say, wouldn't this be a great idea? That would make a great business. But then it never happens. So the difference between having a great idea and actually implementing it is enormous. So I, at the time, was a business coach. My husband was a business coach, and we were helping other people with their, basically with their whole life, because if your whole life needs to be in balance in order to really have a successful business. You got to get your sleep, and you got to eat well, and you got to take time off and all of that. But at the time I was coaching this woman who had a salon, and she would complain every day about her boss and how terrible she was, and wish she had her own salon. And I thought, well, why don't you? So I thought the one way I'm going to get my clients to actually take action is I'll have a contest. And the contest will be, if you can get your dream up and running in 3 months, then, we'll give you a prize. You get to go on a cruise for a week. So that was the plan. And I'm just going to stop. Do you want to walk by, honey? Yeah. Okay. Because she can edit it. He was standing by the door. I was like, oh, the poor guy.
Just like waiting for a long time.
Yeah.
That's funny.
You're going to be there a while. All right. So basically I put out there on Craigslist, because that was the easiest way to get in contact with the masses in those days. And I basically said, hey, we're going to, coach you for free for 3 months, and we'll have 6 different people, and whoever makes that goal happen will win this cruise. But they'll also, it wasn't so much about the cruise. It was like, we're going to publicize this. You're going to get, already kind of a launch to your new business. So I put it on Craigslist, and we had thousands of people respond. And I walked into my husband's office and said, I have no idea what to do now. How do I pick? Because I would sit there in front of my computer, and these dreams and the passion was it was so real, it was so from the heart, and there was no way I could eliminate anyone. So he, being the brilliant coach that he is, said, I know, just give them all an assignment. So the assignment was, all right, come back with a 1-page business plan. And would you believe, and I think you would believe.
I would believe. I already know the end to this story.
Well, half came back with that 1-page business plan. So I thought all those thousands of people who were so passionate couldn't do that. So I still had the same problem. I'm like, honey, there's still a lot of really great people. So the next step was, all right, take that 1-page business plan and break it down into just 3 steps that you could take. What are 3 things you would do in the next week to move the goal forward? Once again, half of them came back with that. So we just continued, and the next was, all right, did you do it? How did it go? we ended up with about 99 people. So I thought, okay, this is great. They came this far. It's not the 6 I thought I'd work with, but it's 99. And I was able to get 99 coaches to volunteer and take on each team. So then it became kind of a contest between the coaches, like who could take their client. Yeah. And then we ended up with 12 who made it to the end of the 3 months. So, here's these people who got free coaches, they got free publicity, and still only 12 made it to the end. And then I thought, how do we vote on who the winner is? Because they all really made they took massive action. The lady who complained about her salon, she ended up creating her salon. She had it up and running in that 3 months, and she won an award in that 3 months. So it was brilliant. She's still in business today. She still credits us for being in business and winning awards year after year. Another woman had a dream of starting a school. One of our friends recorded his music. He's an incredible musician, and it was, record your music and get it on the radio, and he did. So I thought, well, how am I going to choose? They're all brilliant. So I actually let them vote for each other. And
nice.
It was really cool. And the woman who, had this business plan to start her own Montessori school, it was kind of a unique approach. She won. So yeah, that's the story, which really there's so much you could take out of that, which is, you just got to do it. You got to get started.
Well, and it's interesting to me how many people will say they want the dream and are so excited about the dream and will put the dream out until they have to do one step of action.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's right. And that's why I often tell people, sure, you can buy franchises, businesses that are kind of pre-made for you, and you just got to follow the directions and you can probably be successful. But if you're really creating sort of your own business and your own idea, if you don't have the passion behind that, the thing that keeps you up. When I started Real Wealth Network, I would get, people would be laughing at me because they'd get emails from me at 2 a.m. Like, I didn't sleep. I still, 20 years later, people like, when are you going to slow down? I'm still in a different city every month preaching the benefits of investing in real estate because I'm crazy about it still after 20 years. And I'm not sure if you don't have that passion, if you can really take your business to the level that you want it to be. Maybe, I don't know.
That is an interesting thing because, and I've blogged about this before actually, that I think passion and discipline are your two henchmen, right? And you have to have one of them with you at all times.
Yes.
And I have moments where the passion leaves. I definitely do. I have days where I'm not feeling it. I've had months where I'm truthfully not feeling it. But if I'll employ discipline during that time when the passion's not so strong, then I'll create results, which then could bring the passion back. Because I think the passion tends to go away when nothing fun or exciting is happening and you're just in that, monotony of business.
Yeah.
But it started with a passion, and it started with something that I was really interested in and excited about. And, you have those phases where you literally wake up at 5 a.m. just because you're too excited to sleep anymore. It's like your brain and your body were communicating, and your body was like, we've got just enough. And your brain's like, okay, let's go. So I do think that if you don't love it, and if you're just doing it, because sometimes people get into entrepreneurship for the wrong reason. They do it because they don't like their job. Well, Get a job that you like if that's the case, because I promise you, entrepreneurship is not something that you just jump into because you don't like your job. Because I promise you, if you look at it as job to job, it's the worst job ever.
It's like 20 jobs.
It's like 20 jobs. And then your boss expects more from you than any other boss has ever expected of you. And then sometimes your boss tells you mean things. So,
Yep.
So, let's talk a little bit about how you have launched your real estate business and also how you've helped others to do the same.
Sure. Well, I didn't know anything about real estate except that I was born and raised in California, where my dad would buy a house and we'd live in it and he'd make $1 million. It was just kind of lucky. But I didn't really know it any other way. But also, if you didn't sell that house at the right time, then you'd lose that $1 million.
Right.
So, very volatile. but that's all I knew about real estate. But back in 2002, my husband and I were both coaches, as I had mentioned, and he came out with a book called Extreme Success and was traveling around the country promoting that. It was published by Simon & Schuster, and he was just really at the top of his game, everything going amazing, and a full client list of companies that he was coaching. But then he came home one day with tears in his eyes because he had just gotten back from the doctor and was told that he had 6 months to live because the melanoma that they had found, they thought had spread. So all of a sudden, life changed like that. We had just bought a big house, 4,000 square foot house. I was a stay-at-home mom, and it was like, what if the doctor's right? Now, I didn't believe in my gut that the doctor was right because he's just a big hunk of a man, and he jumps off things all the time, like bridges, and he's an extreme sport athlete. And so I just couldn't believe that a freckle would take him down. So, and it turns out that the doctor was wrong, and he's just as healthy as can be today. They were able to cut it all out. And so the doctor was wrong, but at the time, we didn't know. So we had to prepare ourselves for the possibility that the doctor was right. Thankfully, he was wrong, and Rich is just as healthy as can be today. But if the doctor was right, then I would still want to find a way to be a stay-at-home mom, which would mean some kind of home business or passive income. And so I had a radio show at the time that I was just doing for free. I was in broadcasting all my life. And that's where I did the dream show. And I thought, okay, I'm going to switch this focus to how do I make money, passive income, so that I can stay home with these kids if indeed something happened to my husband. And I just started interviewing people who were wealthy but had created that money on their own. And each and every one of them had either invested in business or in real estate, and usually both. But real estate was the one that gave them the most passive income, and is where they would take their active income from their business. They'd invest it passively into real estate. So I ended up getting a sponsor on the show who was a mortgage broker. And because he was a sponsor, he became my co-host. And then boy, how do you make mortgages and, financing interesting? Well, he did. That's the rain out there, by the way. I don't know if you can hear it.
I actually could hear it. That is raining a lot.
It is pouring here in Malibu. I hope that I hope it's okay after at the end of the day.
Good.
All right. How do you make mortgages interesting? Well, again, my husband, I came home and said, honey, I'm going to lose my audience. I got this co-host who's going to talk about financing. And Rich said, that actually could be really interesting. Find out what people are doing with the money and how they're building wealth. So that's what we did. We just did human interest stories. We interviewed this guy's clients, and some people were flipping houses. Some people were doing house hacking. If you've heard of that, where you buy a house, but you rent out rooms and you use that money to pay off your note, and you can put less money down and get a lower interest rate if it's your primary residence. People were investing in, short sales and notes. And so we would just interview all sorts of different people and find out their stories, many who were retired by the age of 30. And then our phones were just ringing off the hook with people saying, yeah, I want to do that. I want mortgages. I want to flip houses. And so he said, why don't you go ahead and get your license and you could take these loans. So I did. And I became a mortgage broker and learned the power of leverage. At that time, that was about, like I said, 2003.
Mm-hmm. So real estate is something that I think a lot of people look at as that would be really cool to do, but it's a high point of entry. Whereas, other businesses, you can start with a little bit less capital. You can kind of bootstrap it from the ground up. But I know you work with a lot of first-time real estate investors. So can anybody get into it? Do they need to have a certain amount of monthly cash flow available? Do they need to have a certain amount saved up in the bank? What does that really look like?
That's exactly the philosophy that my husband had. He always wanted to invest in real estate, but he always thought we had to make money first before we could do that. When the truth is, the earlier and the sooner you can do it, the better in the long run, because real estate tends to increase in value over time. It has historically pretty much doubled every 15 to 20 years. So you want to start early. And that is why it was so valuable for me to come into the industry through the lending side, just totally by accident from the sponsor, just to see that real estate is maybe the only industry, the only investment where you can borrow to the hilt. I mean, you can walk into a bank and say, I want a loan for this, and they'll give you one. And back then, I mean, as you know, they'd pretty much give a loan to anybody. So it was really easy back then. Today, you definitely have to prove that you have the ability to pay that note, to pay them, the monthly payment and the taxes and the interest. You have to really qualify. But you can still, on your first property, you can it's only required that you put 3% down if you live in it. Now, if you're going to just buy it strictly as an investment, then you need 20% down. But the markets that we love are cash flow markets, areas that are still really affordable, but have infrastructure growth or some kind of job growth, something happening in that market that will take values up. For example, Detroit. Detroit is a complete comeback kid. It was bankrupt a few years ago, and now a couple of billionaires have come in and completely revitalized that city. And we helped investors get in over the last 2 years when price points were around $60,000 for a property that's all fixed up, renovated, with a tenant in place, paying about $900 a month. Well, it turns out Detroit has been one of the fastest appreciating markets in the country. I think it was like 14% growth last year. So you could have made 14%. Wow. Let's say the property was $100,000 and you made $14,000 gain on that property, but you only put 20% down. So you put $20,000 down and made $14,000. Where are you going to make a return like that? That's the power of leverage. So yes, in Detroit, you would have needed about $12,000 to $15,000 to purchase that property, but that's pretty doable. You can save that money. You can do that. My daughter did it. She saved $12,000 and she's 24 just by putting money away every payment. So it's definitely for everybody. But if you have absolutely no money at all, you can still get into real estate through wholesaling. There's even just as a real estate agent, you can make 3% on transactions. So there is a way to make money if you have no money. But if you do have a job and you're able to set aside money, that's an even better route.
So I was late to the party, but I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad for the first time this year. And I was angry as I was reading it. I was like, why do they not explain this to you when you are 18 years old? Why am I 38 years old? And I'm just reading this for the first time and realizing that what I thought I was putting into that were assets were really liabilities. And
it's
frustrating.
Yeah. It's amazing that the average person doesn't know this. My own daughter, who grew up in this industry, watched mom and dad, be entrepreneurs her whole life. And still walking her through the process of buying her first home was terrifying for her. And she just probably never would have done it had we not really strongly urged her to buy a house instead of a car. She'd come to me and say, I've got great credit, Mom. I'm going to go buy a car. I'm like, no, because now you have more debt with a car loan that will prevent you probably from buying a house. Like if you don't have that debt already, then you have more ability to acquire real assets. But I couldn't agree with you more. I can't believe there's not more education in our schools.
Well, and that's why your company is probably doing so well, because you provide that education. Yeah. So I know we're just about out of time here, but I've really enjoyed our conversation. And for our viewers who are wanting to get connected, learn more, and figure out how real estate could play a part in their journey to creating independent wealth, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you, Kathy?
Sure. Well, I wrote a book that really simplifies the process of buying your first rental property, and it's called Retire Rich with Rentals. Now, my husband's name is Rich, and he came up with that title, so I was like, I want to retire too, honey. Anyway, Retire Rich with Rentals is you can buy it on Amazon, and And then our website is realwealthnetwork.com, real like real estate, wealth like your money, and network as in the network we have nationwide of teams that will find properties, renovate them, get a tenant in it, and sell to a new investor, all packaged and ready to go. So you don't have to try to figure it out yourself. Of course, you still have to do your due diligence, go down the checklist, get your inspections and appraisals, but it's a kind of done for you product. So realwealthnetwork.com. It's free to join, and we have so much free education there. It's a great place to start.
Awesome. And for all of our viewers, make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Join us in our private Facebook community, the CEO Spot, and we'd love to have your comments. So let us know what you liked, what are some takeaways that you've had, and any questions that you have for myself or for Kathy, we're happy to answer them for you. Kathy, thank you so much for being on with us, and I hope that all of you have a wonderful rest of your day.